Hello. Today I am reading from a discourse on the meaning of Mahabharata as explained by Maharishi Agastya in the sacred book Agasthiyar Vazhipaadu, translated as Agastya the Path in English. Sage Agastya. Maharishi Vyasa wrote the Mahabharata as a complete book of knowledge for the human race. The entire picture of the Kurukshetra war came to him as intuition from the Supreme God. That is why it is regarded as the most sacred treatise of all times. The knowledge of Parabrahman is unlimited. Having created the universe and humans, Parabrahman wanted them to lead a righteous life. When things went wrong, when unrighteousness was gaining the upper hand, it was left to the great rishis to correct the world through their knowledge. Each person who reads or hears the content of the Mahabharata understands it in his own capacity. How has the Mahabharata been understood and visualized in various ways by different people in different contexts? First, when a common man with an average level of intelligence hears the story, it is only a narration of an interesting story. That is how, even today, Mahabharata is narrated as a story in many places. To such people, the day-to-day events in the Kurukshetra battlefield is nothing more than fiction, or the chapters in the Mahabharata itself just a story. They are more interested in knowing what will happen next. Only the characters involved in the story and their deeds remain in their minds, nothing more. Depending on the nature of the person who hears the story, they take sides. Some consider Arjuna the hero and someone else Bhima, and still others Karna, and so on. Some people do not derive the benefit of the real meaning of the Mahabharata. However, since the story is interesting, they listen to it again and again. That is the greatness of Mahabharata. No one ever gets tired of hearing it, irrespective of the age or level of education. Secondly, humans endowed with a discriminatory mind. In some people, there exists a strong distinction between right and wrong, virtues and sins, righteousness and unrighteousness. When they read or hear the Mahabharata, the characters in the story become secondary. However, their deeds become more important. Throughout the story, their mind follows the path of the actions, good and bad, of the characters. Yet, even to these people, Mahabharata remains a story, but with a message of triumph of good over evil. Depending on the inclination, they identify with the virtuous acts or wrongful deeds of the characters in Mahabharata. It is this dissimilatory tendency that makes them identify with the Pandavas as the embodiment of virtue and the Kauravas as a group of sinful people. Such people focus on identifying the warriors and weigh them against each other so that they can arrange them on a scale of virtuous acts. In the same way, they weigh the characters among the Kauravas on the scale of sinful acts. I would like to take a little more attention to bring to your notice the leaders who are ranged in the scale of virtue and sin in the Mahabharata. If you look at the spectrum, there is a clear consideration of Pandavas as virtuous and Kauravas as sinful. Let us examine the personalities of those who stand out as virtuous. If you make a list of the characters and ask another person to arrange these virtuous men in the order of merit, you will find many variations. Some of the names classified under virtuous characters are Bhishma, Drona, Yudhishthira, and Karna. Now, where would you place the hero Arjuna? You can also discuss the merits of Duryodhana, the chief of the Kauravas in this light. Among the list of unrighteous, we have Shakuni, Duryodhana again, Dushasana, and others. Many authors have written volumes on the arguments of who among them is the most virtuous. The most controversial characters you may find is Karna. Hence, historically speaking, Karna is the central figure of the entire process of the war on righteousness. Now let's come to the third category of people. Both the above classes of people look at the outer layer of the story. It is like a bird's eye view. Now let us take up the more serious inner meaning of Mahabharata. We see on one plane, it is a war against two sets of cousins establishing their rights on a kingdom. But the inner meaning is the establishment of righteousness for which this war is being waged. Each episode of Mahabharata reveals actual situations that a person faces at certain time in their life. When a situation creates indecision in a person's mind, he can look for a solution in the small episodes or events within the story of Mahabharata. Here, the person is drawn into the realm of right and wrong. The entire analysis of the Kurukshetra war affords examples of how to tackle a difficult, conflicting, or confusing situation. That is why Arjuna was placed in such a predicament in the beginning of the war. Here, Arjuna refers to the manas. The battlefield refers to the situation, and the teaching of Lord Krishna refers to the solution. In this context, the story is more value-based than event-based. So for such people, Mahabharata is not just a story, it is a solution. It helps a person tread the path of righteousness and to choose between right and wrong. Now we come to the fourth category. In this category, we can look at Mahabharata as a compendium dealing with various rules. In fact, one can regard Mahabharata as containing the ultimate knowledge on the human level. In it, you find the science of living, science of politics and economics, science of warfare, science of sexuality, compendium of ethics or right policy, and also the duties of king, people, the guru, disciples, brothers, friends, and enemies. So, Mahabharata was meant to be a concise, wholesome, easily understandable, easily followed piece of righteous knowledge for all types of people. Now, let us come to the last group. Each person understands a certain aspect of each event in the story. It is just like people looking at a lotus flower. One sees its color, another sees its shape, another tries to determine why it floats on water, and another compares its beauty against some other value. If it is a passing cow, it simply regards it as a tasty morsel. That is how I want you all to analyze a situation, fact, or figure, says Agastya. An average person looks at the surface. The intelligent person analyzes the fact, but a person with higher knowledge tries to find the meaning in it. The human body, as is referred to as the Kshetra, the field, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, and the soul residing in the body as Kshetrajna is the one who understands the nature of the field. The soul of the Kshetrajna is ever pure. You can compare this to the righteous aspect of the Bhagavad Gita. The buddhi, which is the intellectual faculty, is like a chariot drawn by the horses, the senses. The senses lead the human body in different directions. It is the mind which must discriminate and find the right path. If the horses are drawn on an uneven path, they will tumble and become injured, and the chariot will need to stop moving for some time. If the horses are going on the right path, which we call righteousness, and it is led by a mind which follows righteousness, chances are the soul will reach its destination. This is Sage Agastya's explanation. Please wait for the rest of the discourse, which deals with how Mahabharata relates to the chakras in the human bodies. Thank you.